What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. This is the AJ Sports Show. We are here for another football feast episode. Football season is fast approaching. Johnny's got the hat on. I don't have any apparel on just yet. You will notice we are a card short in our deck today. We will get that ace back as soon as we possibly can, though. We miss you, buddy. We'll see you on the next show. Jay, how we doing, man? I know you're. I say it every time we come on, but you're excited as heck for this football season, buddy.
We're getting ready. We're getting ready between the DFS and, making sure, we know all the players and stuff. We're getting ready to go here, catching up on the film prep. So I'm just really excited. I just really can't wait for it. It's really exciting.
It's very hard for Johnny, and you guys will learn. We'll get to know this. What's up, Lord Lizzie? How you doing? You guys will get to know this and come to understand that he can't even put it into words sometimes. His excitement for football. He just kind of gets excited, get that ace back. Yeah, we're gonna get him back. Hopefully, Why don't soon? We'll have him back. We'll have him back hopefully for Sundays, where we'll see Johnny shine in his DFS, and that way we can really, like I've been saying, we really get a feel for how much Johnny actually loves football and how much thought he puts into it. Especially if you were prepping for shows, you would know that. But here we are.
So I tend to over prep sometimes, unfortunately.
Hey, that's okay, man. You're just well prepared. That's what we appreciate about you here, Jay. That's really what we do.
Hey, thank you, buddy. Jeez,
of course.
I feel like a good
guy. So some news dropped today. A couple big things. Mostly over the weekend, we had the NFL Top 100. We'll get to that. But for news that just dropped today, so big news was, I guess, depending on who you're a fan of and what team you support, you could either say it was Tyrann Mathieu or Cam, but we'll start with Cam Newton. Cam Newton was released by the New England Patriots today after spending one season as their starter. He performed decently. I think in his first year, last year, he's 32 years old. It was the second NFL team he had been on. He went 7-8, threw for 8 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, which was a career low for him by an egregious margin in touchdown passes. So definitely not what Bill Belichick was looking for. It looks like they made the move over to Mac Jones here now, and Cam will be on his way to possibly his third team in his career. And interesting to see if he does get picked up. He still is a dual threat quarterback. He was rushing the ball particularly efficiently when he was with the Patriots. Jay, how do you feel about this, and what's your biggest takeaway?
I mean, I was pretty surprised, to be honest. Cam Newton is someone who coming into the preseason, you expected him to be the starting quarterback of the New England Patriots. The Patriots looked like they were a team ready to bounce back after a subpar season last year. Not very sub 500 seasons with the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick at the helm. Obviously a good amount of that is with Tom Brady, who's no longer there. So, that's going to play a quite the factor into it. But they had a bunch of people who didn't play last year, a bunch of guys on the defensive side of the ball that decided to opt out. So getting those guys back, you were anticipating the Patriots to come out and be really competitive this year. And obviously the Bills are the top dog in that division, but definitely vie for a wild card spot. I mean, for as much slack that wants to be put on Bill Belichick and the Patriots for not succeeding last year, it's not succeeding for the Patriots. I mean, they were under 500. They were still right at 500. I mean, they were only one game under. And then considering everything that they lost, now the new additions that they were able to pick up, they spent the most money in free agency they've ever spent under Bill Belichick. Definitely thought this was going to be a team that was led by Cam Newton. I don't like to Colin Cowherd. I've listened to him every now and again, when he's not, being a gas bag, but, he mentioned it. This is a tough division now. This isn't a division where the Patriots, can kind of fool around and, kind of have their way in the beginning part of this, of the seasons. The Miami Dolphins are a really good football team. The Buffalo Bills are an exceptionally good football team, and you'll see how good that we think they are here coming up when we give our predictions. But Mac Jones, the GOAT, though. Yeah. Hey, dude. I mean, he played well in the preseason. The Patriots played a lot of their starters in the preseason to really get a good look at these guys. And to be fair, I thought Cam looked better. I mean, Cam looked really good. He had that one, that game 2 where he went 8 of 9, had like 100 and something yards, a touchdown, had one rush, looked really good. I was like, this is Cam's job to lose. Now, we're going to get into it here, but, the COVID thing, obviously there was a miscommunication there and he had to miss 5 days, and it doesn't seem like he's vaccinated considering the fact that he missed those 5 days. Cause if you were unvaccinated, that time period makes sense. If you were vaccinated, then you probably had a chance to come back at an earlier time. But, what do you think about that, Andrew? Cam Newton now being gone and Mac Jones taking the helm there?
Yeah, definitely took me by surprise. I thought I assumed I would see Mac Jones at some point this season. Not when it comes to rookie quarterbacks nowadays, you can't really pinpoint exactly when you're gonna see them, especially if you look like at other teams around the league, like the Justin Fields and the Trey Lances of the world. So you really don't know. I didn't expect them to see. I don't expect Jarrett Stidham to start so now that Cam's gone, it's gonna be Mac Jones. So it'll be interesting to see because I can. This is probably the first time that you could say, and Ace would be here to reassert this. But the Buffalo Bills have 2 players in the top 20, in the top 12 actually, in the NFL top 100, which we'll get into that a little bit, which posted over this weekend. So this is not a division that is gonna just kind of lay over. And Belichick's still a good coach. For people who want to say he's not, losing Tom Brady is exactly what it sounds like. It's losing Tom Brady. It's losing the greatest quarterback we've ever been able to witness play the game of football. Maybe not talent wise, but that's conjecture, and we'll talk about that another time. But
he's the greatest quarterback ever. If anyone ever wants to have a discussion as to who the greatest quarterback ever is, you can take whatever opinion you have and shove it right where the sun don't shine. This dude's got 7 Super Bowls. Okay, it does not matter. Quite literally. I was curious, Andrew, talking about Mac Jones. Mac Jones was a quarterback at Alabama with Jalen Hurts and Tua. They were all there at the same time. So this is kind of off the cuff. We didn't really talk about this, but I was just getting to thinking here. If you had to pick one of those 3 guys, and obviously they're all very young, first or second year in the league, who are you going with if you had to pick between Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, or Jalen Hurts? Who would you go forward with as the quarterback of your franchise?
Oh God, I was not prepared for that at all.
It's tough, right?
Is it weird that I would say Mac Jones?
No, I don't think it would have been.
Yeah, I don't think it's weird to say that. I think he's the most I feel like I have concerns with Jalen Hurts. I have concerns of getting the ball downfield. With Tua, I have concerns similarly about getting the ball downfield, but also staying healthy, and that's going to be something that has, even though he hasn't really had an injury just yet, but he was injury prone at Alabama. So I don't think it's out of pocket to say that Mac Jones would be the guy out of that group that I would pick. Yeah, no, not at all.
I think it is Mac Jones. I think 100%. I mean, obviously the talent factor of Jalen Hurts and his mobility and his ability to throw off platform is something that really neither Tua or Mac Jones can do. Tua is a little more mobile than Mac Jones, but it's not even a question. Mac Jones is the most accurate. He's the most quarterback poised of all of them. Granted, we haven't seen him in a regular season game yet, so that's where I have my asterisk, right? So right now, I would say Mac Jones, given what I've seen in the preseason and, given obviously now the Patriots willing to, release former MVP in Cam Newton and being okay, going with this rookie Mac Jones. So yeah, it's just a really interesting scenario, man. I did not expect that to happen. I don't think now, okay, let's address the big dog in the room, right? About the COVID vaccine. I mean, Bill Belichick was asked about it today. And to be honest, Bill Belichick was pretty wrong. He went ahead and said there's a lot of data that shows that vaccinated players, still, have a high risk of contracting COVID. That's not the case. I think it's like 70% or something. Bill Barnwell was saying this morning of unvaccinated players more likely to contract COVID than vaccinated players. And then, that data shows up. And of course, Tyrann Mathieu the same day is vaccinated, gets COVID just because Bill Belichick has to be right. The universe would not be set unless Bill Belichick was correct all the time.
That's true,
so,
yeah.
The NFL's opening an investigation on the Jacksonville Jaguars because
this is an interesting story. Yeah, go ahead.
Because Urban Meyer said something about a player's vaccination status playing a factor into whether or not he was cut or kept on the team. Now, okay, do they want to give the NFL correct answer, or do you want the real answer? Because the real answer, when the doors close and these guys are chopping it up, they are looking at everything, man. I mean, they look at everything. They'll go back to high school. They'll talk to your high school teachers, to your high school best friends. If you don't think your COVID vaccination status plays a role into that decision-making process, you're either naive or it's not on the side that you support, so you're going to pretend like it's not existent, because it's 100% true. And no matter what the NFL does, there's no way that these people in these front offices making the big boy decisions are not going to take that into a factor when you're looking at it in the bigger picture. So, Bill Belichick was asked today, and he sternly said no. And by all means, that's the exact answer I would have given. But I can guarantee you that that is not the case. 100% not the case. And I don't know if you agree with that, eh?
Yeah, no, I agree with it. And I was going to just touch on what you said about why it matters, and especially for the people upstairs, like you mentioned, like games are now, especially the new rules in place with COVID and the protocols. Games are now being jeopardized not only by the team who has a player that contracts and spreads COVID, they're jeopardized for the team that they're supposed to be playing. So if they can't play that game, you have what, 106 just active roster NFL players losing game checks, not to mention all the equipment people, the coaches, the staffing, the stadium, the people who bought tickets, the refunds. I mean, you're running into so many like issues that of course it's something. And like you said, you're either naive or you don't agree with the side that they're taking, and that's all fine and dandy, but you're going to see ramifications because of it, unfortunately. And that's just the way the cookie's crumbling right now. And player safety and human safety, rather, I guess is a better way to say it, it's just kind of trumping everything right now. And funny that I use that word anyway, but right. it just kind of is, it's like, we got to stop being dumb about being precautionary and being safe when it comes to this stuff. And like you said, the people who really make the NFL decisions aren't really going to stand for it. But that's a good way to segue into what happened today. Would you have one more thing to add on?
No, just, obviously everything you just said was spot on and absolutely perfect. And those things should be ahead of what I'm about to say, but teams are going to lose games. If the NFL came out with that rule now in the offseason, where if your team is specifically linked to a COVID outbreak and the game cannot be played, cannot be rescheduled, there's 17 weeks now. And so there's not like there's a whole lot of wiggle room. There wasn't before, but now even more so, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room to fit games in. If your team and a player on your team is the reason why a game cannot be put on, you lose automatically. And obviously, the health and safety is all a priority and should be. But I'm just bringing it out there, letting everyone know that the team that caused the outbreak or the player that had the team cause the outbreak will lose that football game. And it won't get played, like you said. No one's going to get paid out. The amount of money the NFL loses on one game not being broadcast and not being put on is immense. So, yeah, again, these big time executives, they get paid to make the hard decisions, and it's a hard decision, but someone's got to make it. And sometimes people don't like the way that it gets put out there because, again, doesn't fit with your stance and how you view things. By all means, have your own views, have your own stance. But to say to say that it's not a reason or it's not something that people are looking into, it's not true.
Yeah, and I think a good example of really how the new rule is going to also because there's more underlying details to it. So a good like example of it was today. Tyrann Mathieu, obviously, hopefully he recovers quickly from it. He contracted COVID, according to all sources within the Kansas City Star, which is the main newspaper news source outlet for Kansas City sports, said that he is fully vaccinated. He did get both doses. So there's a difference now between his timetable of when he can return to the team and when somebody who isn't vaccinated can return to the team. So like Cam Newton we just spoke about, he had to go and isolate for 5 days, couldn't be near the facility, anything. And then also on top of that, had to produce 2 negative COVID tests 24 hours apart. Tyrann Mathieu, who did just contract it and tested positive, because he is fully vaccinated, doesn't have to have the 5-day mandatory waiting period as long as he produces 2 negative COVID tests 24 hours apart. That 5-day period doesn't matter. So it's just however long it takes for him to get those negative tests. So that's just kind of how it's going to be a little bit different between the two sides of that coin. So take it for what you will. But
right. And if people don't know, because again, some people just may not know when you're in football, right? And these teams have these meetings. It's not like, obviously they have team meetings where everyone's together, but they have individual position group meetings too. And, a lot of teams have taken the precautionary now, even in those meetings, when it's only like, for example, the quarterback coach and the quarterbacks, to where it's 6 feet apart, it's still wearing masks, all that jazz. But if you have a player that is not vaccinated, contracts COVID and contaminates your entire quarterback room, and now every quarterback can't play for 5 days, is Josh McDaniels strapping up the chin strap and going out there and running the offense for the Patriots? Good Lord. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So again, like, I'm not, this isn't like, we're not trying to be super political or anything like that, but I just do want everyone to understand that these ramifications and the decisions that they have to make, it's for a reason. They're not just doing it because they're like, I'm anti-vaccine or I'm pro-vaccine and everyone should get it. No, there are so much of a bigger perspective when you zoom out and how this all affects the team, that to say that being vaccinated would not make a difference in whether or not you make a roster spot is just downright not true. It doesn't make any sense. Anyone who's out there, if you can make it make sense, by all means, do your thing. I don't know how you can do that, because as I just outlined and Andrew just outlined for the last 13 minutes, it don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a great way to drive the point home. There's nothing really left to say about that. Just hopefully this NFL season just goes as smooth as possible. Fans are expected to return in full force. Hopefully everybody stays safe. Hopefully COVID, is a thing of the past at some point.
If we had it our way, not a single player would get it. Not a single player would even come close to getting it, would even contract anywhere near it. So, I love football, man. I can't stand it. I'd play DFS, dude. Are you kidding me? When I would wake up last year on a Sunday and all of a sudden, this guy's out for COVID protocols. This guy's out for COVID protocols. I got to play a $3,000 wide receiver from the gosh darn New York Jets on my cash lineup because they don't have receivers. Everyone's out for COVID. I don't want that. I want to be able to get my guys, get my cash lineup, wake up on Sunday, argue my 2v2 or 3v3, be absolutely wrong in that, and get everything else right, and then move along with my cringeful Sunday when the Chiefs win. So, yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Ryan said, so I didn't hear the official quote, but he might be telling the truth, saying it wasn't the main reason, but to say it didn't play any role is stupid.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying, Ryan, right? Like, that's what he's going to say, and that's what he should say. And I don't think that alone is the reason why Cam Newton got cut. But like you said at the last part of your comment there, to say it didn't play a role is stupid, because to me, I agree with you. It's rather silly. It's going to play a role. It's just how big of a role does it play? It depends on the player, right? I mean, if there's a big difference in a skill gap, like one player is way better than the other, then it's probably going to play less of a role. But if it's a coin toss between one or the other, I mean, we're going to talk about it when we get into our predictions, but the Patriots won 7 games last year with a compromised offensive line, with 4 players on the defensive side of the football opting out, and a quarterback who got COVID and was a shell of himself when he returned. I mean, if I'm Bill Belichick, why can't I win 9-10 games, go a little bit over 500 with these improvements that I'm going to get, with the reinforcements I'm going to get back this year, and a quarterback who's, like Mac Jones, just not going to screw it up for me. I mean, I went through the film and I broke down his first preseason game. He's going to go out there. He's going to operate the offense. He's not going to turn the ball over. He's not going to put it in harm's way all that much. And that's really all Bill Belichick needs. And if we're being fair, Tom Brady won 7 Super Bowls. He won 3 of them pretty much by doing that. And letting that defense go off and letting the running game go off. And that's how they won a few Super Bowls. You can go back and look at those games. I mean, Tom Brady wasn't doing like he did in Atlanta, where he scored like 41 points. It's not happening. That's not what happened. So this is right up Bill Belichick's alley. If anything, he's like, sign me up for it even more, baby.
Yeah, he just wants to be competitive. And when he's competitive, Bill knows that he'll always have a chance to win. So that's really it. And if he could be competitive with Mac Jones, which we both think he will be, it'll just make for an exciting and tough division. And as you guys will see later, we both think that they're going to, do fairly well next year. Before we get into that, though, let's go ahead and we can move on to the next thing. NFL Top 100 annual list voted on by the players for the players was released. When was it? Saturday, I believe. Saturday was released, the top 10. A couple surprises. Very, very like. Who finished number 1, we all had right. Let's just start by saying that. We all had right, thankfully.
We didn't think it, though, just to be honest. I don't think any of us really thought the players were going to put him there. Like, if I had to guess who they were going to put there, I thought it was going to be Tom Brady. Or, if I was giving my projections for it, I thought the players would say. But NFL players, a little clapperooski, very good job. You got it right. Attaboy. Because Mr. Smash Mahomes is the best player on the planet. It's really not even close. It's really not.
Yeah, it's pretty. I feel like it's pretty simple for the one at the top. I think the one that people most had, that maybe might have had the most gripe about, was Josh Allen at 10. I think he's got to earn his stripes a little bit. I mean, being a top 10 player, though, is a great achievement all on its own. I don't think that there's any argument to be made that TJ Watt or even Devontae Adams is more impactful than he is.
Or DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins had 5 touchdowns last year. Josh Allen at 10 is pretty ridiculous, to be quite honest with you. He was easily the 3rd best quarterback last year. Josh Allen was better than Tom Brady last year. I know Tom Brady won the Super Bowl in the regular season. And I mean, honestly, even at times in the postseason, Tom Brady won the NFC Championship game throwing 3 interceptions. I mean, what? Josh Allen's not better than TJ Watt. You telling me Josh Allen doesn't do more for the Buffalo Bills than TJ Watt do? Did Devontae Adams? Come on, dude. No shot. Josh Allen should have been a top 5, 6 player right now. And Tom Brady at 7 was a little ridiculous. Yeah, Tom Brady at 7?
It was going to be the next one. Yeah, Tom at 7. He should probably be in the top 5. I mean, yeah. The players like to do the MVP thing. The MVP always gets voted into at least the top 3, unless your name's Patrick Mahomes and you go for 50 yards and 5,000.
Yeah, then you're 4.
5,000 yards, then you're 4. So that's another reason why, and I talked about it last time when we did, when we gave our top 10. That's another reason why Josh Allen for me was at 6. But I was surprised to see. I'm glad Travis Kelce made the top 5. I mean, that's the highest ranking a tight end's ever had. Derrick Henry made a crack into the top 5. I was surprised. I'm be honest with you, I was surprised to see Travis Kelce in there. I didn't think he was going to get that kind of notoriety from his peers. I think it just kind of solidifies everything we've been believing as Chiefs fans, and we've seen the last 5 seasons with or without Patrick Mahomes, because there were 2 without Patrick Mahomes that he also was the best tight end in the NFL. So the list is pretty good. Again, just a couple things to gripe about. We will hammer home. Josh Allen and Tom Brady should be a little bit higher. What up, Joe? Yeah, we do agree. Tom should be higher, 100%.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Ryan, yeah, that's what we're talking about, Ryan. That's some smart football. Oh, man, my bad. That is some smart football analysis right there. People, for some reason, like the Chiefs' offensive line last year was not very good, but any offensive line that's rolling out 3rd stringers. I mean, Kansas City didn't have we didn't have a single starting offensive lineman for that game, right? There was not a single one. Eric Fisher was the only one throughout the playoffs who was there, and then he tore his Achilles. I mean, you know what I'm saying? In the divisional round. I mean, it didn't matter who was back there. There was no shot. And obviously that Bucs front 7 is really good. They didn't need the help of having all these freaking injuries on the Chiefs offensive line. I mean, dude, me and Andrew went back the other day just because we got nothing else better to do with our lives and watched some of the throws that Patrick Mahomes had in the Super Bowl that were incomplete, and his incompletions were a gosh darn highlight reel. Okay. So I asked Joseph. Yeah, I asked Joseph for his top 5. Yep. Patty, Aaron, Rodgers, Brady, Allen, or Henry. Yeah. And for me, it's Allen, and then Trav, and then probably Derrick Henry. I would have Travis Kelce above. I'd have Derrick Henry like 7th probably. I'd have Trav. I gave Derrick Henry in my personal one. I gave Derrick Henry the 5th spot, top 5, not literally just because of the 2,000-yard season. I think, and I may not agree with it, but I thought players were just going to give a lot of credit towards that. We haven't seen it since only 8 times it's ever been done. It's only been done 8 times.
So that's the reason I used a lot of like what I thought the players were going to do. But no, definitely Josh Allen being in the top 5 or 6 is I wouldn't have a problem with it. Again, we just have a problem with honestly with it. I have an issue with TJ Watt even being a top. I mean, am I wrong? Like being a top 10 player?
No, I'm 100% there with you. He is not a top 10 player. I mean,
like Stephon Diggs led in receptions, receiving yards last season with in his first year with Josh Allen. I mean, 100% there. Why 100%. Is he not there? I mean, I feel like we're just throwing in a defensive player just for the sake of it. But I mean, Aaron Donald obviously is rightfully in his spot. He'll never be the best player in the NFL, but he's the best defensive player in the NFL by a wide margin. So I'm okay with that. Allen just stresses me out with decision making sometimes. Yeah, I'm sure if Asa was here, he'd probably tell you the same thing.
He's gotten a lot better with that. Okay, I mean, obviously, like any quarterback, he's progressing and he's going to keep getting better. I know Joseph for sure has the Houston, Texas divisional game from 2 years ago when Josh Allen literally looked lost. I mean, there were times where he was running around, scrambling, turning his back to the line of scrimmage, and then was like resetting to the line of scrimmage and was throwing it off of the face mask of Houston, Texas defenders. I mean, by all means, you have every reason to believe that, Joe, because he really was. And I mean, those were the big questions coming into last year. And I think he did a really good job of shutting those down. He had a really high completion percentage last year, too. I can't remember on top of my head. I think it was above 65%. So, yeah, definitely. Okay, we got Ryan's top five. Patty, Darnold. Yes, Ryan. Yes, Ryan.
Ooh, no Brady in the top 5. Interesting choice.
I mucho gusto this. I would have Brady over Henry, but that, that's fine. I'm good with that. Derrick Henry is, he's unbelievable for a running back. I wish he can catch more passes. He didn't have 2 cinder blocks for hands, but I mean, and that's the amazing thing about Derrick Henry, right? He's doing all this, scoring all these touchdowns. If you're in 3rd and 7 or longer, he's not even on the field. You can't even put him out there. He doesn't pass block very well. He doesn't run routes very well. If you isolate him with like a linebacker,
6'3" running back, yeah, you should be able to pass block a little bit.
Oh, 100%. You think he's another offensive lineman, and it's not the case. It's just not the case. He's just, he stiff arms people. I guess maybe try to translate that into some type of pass protection, maybe. But
we're not trying to re-traumatize Josh Norman on this show, Johnny. It's a happy place for all NFL players. We don't want to traumatize people with stiff arms.
Except Josh Norman. I didn't really like Josh Norman. I'm not really a fan of Josh Norman.
I don't think he's like Josh Norman. Oh man! Well, thanks guys for giving us your top 5. Our top 10 can be found in one of our previous videos if you want to go back and check it out. Even though it doesn't really matter because it ends up being all about the players anyway. I like that the players get to have a say though. It just makes it a little more interesting. But moving on from that, those were our appetizers. We're going to move on to our main course, which the next thing is going to be. We're actually going to be giving you our predictions. So it can be a little bit different without Ace here. Thankfully, and by a lot of hard work and dedication by our main man. He pre-recorded himself giving his he's not going to give us the full breakdown and records as we're going to show you in just a second, but he did give us a little video clip for every division. And he just gives us a little breakdown of who he thinks is going to be going to come out of that division. And then we have a little bit about then we have recaps at the end of each one just for him to give. So
just real quick, I want to touch on Ryan's comment, Andrew, because Ryan's 100% correct here. I mean, that's what's really made Tom Brady. And people talk about it. James Harrison's talked about it when he's come from the Steelers and he played that one season. I don't even think it was a full season. It was like 6 games for the Patriots. Antonio Brown loves Tom Brady. And I mean, he started in New England when Tom Brady was there. They tried to get him over there. Players gravitate to him and they want to play well with him. It seems like he just has this rapport around him. And obviously you want to be around winners. And I mean, how much of a winner can you get besides Tom Brady with 7 Super Bowls, So I think that's 100% correct. I think that the winning definitely helps. You can really be a leader when you have 7 championships. Who the hell, if Tom Brady's talking, is going to tell Tom Brady something? There's very few people. So yeah, 100% agree with that.
All right. So let's get right into it. I'm gonna go ahead and hit this video real quick, guys, and then the next thing we'll see is our little graphic.
What division are we starting with, Ace?
Yeah, we're gonna start off in the AFC. We'll start off in the AFC West. It's the first video that we got here for Ace. So we'll cover the Super Bowl what would you call them? The Super Bowl representative from the AFC last season with the Kansas City Chiefs. And here's Ace's take on what he thinks will happen in 2021.
He better pick the.
Hey, it's Ace here. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the AFC West because I think this is the easiest division to call. And it's going to be the Chiefs. They're going to finish the season at 15.
That boy!
And they're only going to drop 2. And the reason I think they're only going to drop 2 is because it's a 17-game season. And, extrapolate what they did last year, losing once. I think the only times that I'll have them losing are just random games at the end of the season. Maybe Denver in the last week of the season because they want to rest all their starters. Green Bay.
Smart lad!
A little tricky for them. But I'm going to take the Chiefs 15-2, make it into the playoffs.
That is a smart, super handsome man right there. Okay? You're going to see why in a second.
All right, yep. So we're gonna definitely agree with his take there. No, you guys won't, see that as much of a surprise. But let's go ahead and pull this up real quick. All right. So here are our predictions for what we think is going to happen. So as Jay said, we all have the Chiefs going 15-2. And then the Chargers coming in second. We do have a little bit of a swap here. Johnny thinking that the Broncos are actually going to finish over 500. I wouldn't have expected that. I still don't expect that because then I would have changed my mind on my picks. But I have them going 5-12, and the Raiders going 6-11. Jay, do you want to give a quick little note on why you have it going this way?
Yeah, so I'll start. You want to do each team together? Me and you can do each teams, or how you want to do this?
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay, yeah. So for the Chiefs, I mean, I'm pretty much searching for losses, and it's real hard to find them. I gave us a loss in Week 17 to Denver because we'll probably wrap something up by then, I'd imagine. As long as Patrick Mahomes stays healthy, that is. Some of the problematic games, at Baltimore, we've also won 4 straight against Baltimore since 2015. We've won every game against Baltimore that Lamar Jackson has been the starting quarterback for. We play Green Bay at home, though. I think the Arrowhead advantage gives us that. And then our division is going to be decent. I think the Chargers are going to be a tough out, but since Andy Reid came, we're pretty solid for winning about 6 games in our division. So, winning about 4 to 6 games in our division, that is. So I think the Chiefs go 15-2 here. I don't think it's really all that problematic. We're pretty loaded everywhere. I would have liked to see us get better at our wide receiver 2 position. Sounds like Mecole Hardman's going to be the guy there at wide receiver 2. Scares the dickens out of me, and I'm a Chiefs fan. Really does. I'm already looking into the buyout market and see who's already been cut on this 53-man cut that we just saw. So, Chiefs 15-2. Think they're the best team in football, in my opinion.
Yeah, hard for me to disagree with you. Chiefs 15-2 as well. I gave them losses against Green Bay and then one against the Chargers. I think they do get one, like you mentioned, that the Chiefs are usually not good for losing a division game, but it's a tough division no matter what the records end up being at the end of the year, and they're tough places to travel to. You could ask any player, who's played for the Chiefs, past or present, and they'll tell you that going to any 3 of those teams is really difficult, whether Mile High or the Black Hole or even old Qualcomm and StubHub Center. But still, I think the Chargers will be pretty improved. So that's how I think it's going to shake out in the AFC West.
Yeah. So I'll go talk about the rest of the AFC West. The Chargers are going to be 10-7. In my opinion, I think they're going to be a really good football team. They're pretty loaded everywhere. They have good skill position players. They did lose Hunter Henry. Really did a good job of revitalizing that offensive line. That was the worst rated offensive line in Pro Football Focus last year, which makes what Justin Herbert was doing that much more ridiculous. This division's pretty set, man. If you're the Raiders and Broncos, you got to be really scared with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert in this division. That's why when people were talking about Aaron Rodgers coming to the Broncos, I wouldn't want to go there. Look at Brady. Brady went to a division where there's no quarterback controversy. The best quarterback was Drew Brees, and we knew he had one foot out the door waiting for NBC to get a commentary gig. He was barely slinging the rock around. He couldn't throw it more than 20 yards at some points in the season last year. So the team that I want to focus on really from the AFC West here, as Andrew mentioned, it might be a little bit of a surprise, but Vegas has them winning 8.5 games as well. I think the Denver Broncos are going to be pretty good. I think that them going with Teddy Bridgewater instead of Drew Lock shows you that Vic Fangio is sick of losing games because of the quarterback. This defense is legit. When you look at the defense on all 3 levels, they're pretty legit. Linebacking core is great. Von Miller and Nick Chubb, the last time that they played a full season together, combined for 26.5 sacks. Justin Simmons on the back end is unbelievable. I think their defense is going to be really good. I think that the offense is much slept on. When you have a quarterback that completes 56% of his passes, your offense is going to look pretty crappy. So I don't think Teddy Bridgewater comes in there and completes 56% of his passes. I think he goes like 63%, and he allows these playmakers to shine a little bit. When you look at their playmakers, they're pretty loaded with Melvin Gordon, Noah Fant. They also have Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. They have skill players. Can the quarterback give him the ball? We saw that last year. No, not really. So we'll see if Teddy Bridgewater could do that this year. And then John Gruden signed a 10-year contract like 3 years ago. So I guess, he can just suck until 10 years go by and they're not going to fire him because he's John Gruden and he's coaching the Oakland Raiders or the Las Vegas Raiders, wherever the heck they are right now. Doesn't matter where they're playing their home games. They're going to lose them. So it doesn't really matter to me. Look at their drafts, the last few drafts. They've been atrocious. They've been absolutely terrible. Reached on everyone. Cleveland Farrell is a guy that John Gruden was like, that's my guy. He was a second stringer last year. Barely saw the field. So I think 4-13. People are projecting them to go like right around 500. I don't see it. I think they're very bad. I think that the home field advantage is a little more toned down, especially now that you go to Las Vegas. And I mean, not that the Vegas crowd isn't going to travel because, it's not that far from Oakland, but it ain't that close either. And Las Vegas is a travel destination. I mean, you're going to see people and you're going to see teams fans show up in numbers there. I mean, what better excuse is there? Hey, Beb, you know what I'm saying? Dallas, for example. Dallas playing the Raiders in Las Vegas. It's just spend a weekend in Vegas, watch Cowboy game. I mean, literally, it doesn't work out any better than that. So I don't see the home field advantage being much of a thing anymore. We used to be a little nervous going to the black hole there. Whatever. The building's fantastic. I'll tell you that. Looks great. But your team's going to go 4-13 in that building.
Yeah, I guess I'd see. I guess the issue I had, not the issue I have with the Broncos, is I don't know if Teddy solves that. They you made a good case for them having a lot of offensive firepower, a lot of good skill position players, and the defense is legit. It's very good. For me, I had the Raiders finishing a little bit above. And I'll pull this comment here by Ryan real quick. He said he's with me on this take. He thinks the Chiefs run away with it, which is, again, most people are going to say that. The Herbert-led Chargers will be winning 10 or 11 games. He thinks the Raiders are a bit better than the Broncos right now. I'm honestly not sure which of these teams are better. The Broncos have a far and away better roster. I just don't know, and I don't trust, rather, Vic Fangio or, to be honest with you, even John Elway to run this team properly until I see it. Since Peyton Manning left, it just hasn't been run well. They tried the Brock Osweiler project. That didn't work. They tried Case Keenum. That didn't work. And obviously, those aren't great quarterbacks, but they were brought in. They were supposed to be the next guy. And they've drafted a lot of good skill position players that they just haven't come to fruition yet. And, my favorite out of the group is Cortland Sutton. Hopefully he's going to be back and healthy this year. He tore his ACL last year. Yes, exactly, Joe. They do have one of the best rosters in football. It remains to be seen if they can put it together. I will miss calling their starting quarterback Team Cheeks, though, however. So that's a bit of a bummer. But that's okay.
I mean, I agree with Joe. I think that the Broncos are really strong, and when you look at their schedule, it plays out pretty favorably. I mean, they're going to start the season going 3-0. I mean, they get the Giants, then they get the Jags, then they're home for the Jets. I mean, then they'll probably lose 2 with Baltimore and Pittsburgh, but then they get the Raiders. I mean, they also have the likes of Philadelphia on their schedule, of Detroit on their schedule, of Chicago on their schedule. So I can see them pretty easily getting to 6 or 7 wins, and then a few upsets here or there. Gets them right to 9, in my opinion. I think, obviously in football, scheming and coaching is very important, but talent's important too. And I think that they're pretty loaded. I really do. I think they have some really good pieces on that team, both offensively and defensively. So I think they're going to be a little bit better than most people think. I could be absolutely wrong, but that's what makes this fun. I mean, I have the Raiders going 4-13. I don't know very many people that are going to have the Raiders only winning 4 games, but I don't see it. I feel like the personnel decision-making over there is absolutely ridiculously terrible. I don't know if homeboy, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name right now.
Mayock.
Yeah, Mayock. I don't know if he's still doing his gas bagging at the NFL Network. He thinks he's still doing that in his decision-making on personnel over there, and that's why they stink so bad at picking players. But yeah, it's pretty terrible. I don't see the Raiders doing much of anything here in the near future.
Me either. 6 games is a bit generous, but that's just
even that's not great.
Yeah, it's not.
They're losing 2-1.
10-year deal. What you got to show for it?
Clearly he's safe. At least John Gruden. You know what I'm saying? They lose. You go to bed on your sack of money, baby. Don't worry about it. You're good.
I mean, it's such a terrible position. They can't do anything about it. If they're like, oh, he went. Even if he goes 0-17, it's like we're gonna fire you. Yeah, I got 6 years left, baby.
I mean, you just moved to a new stadium too, totally transitioning your entire franchise. Like you're gonna cause a head coaching problem, like right in the middle of this after year 1 at your new stadium.
I mean,
they're the Raiders, though.
I guess some stability is good stability, right?
Even if it's bad for the Raiders, I guess
it's a bad culture.
That's the thing. The Raiders can just say, "Hey guys, our team stinks, but here's Chucky, right? Your favorite John Gruden is the guy. You guys want him? Here he is. They sell some T-shirts outside the stadium. Football's gonna go 4-13. No problem, though." Gosh.
Oh man! All right, let's go from one coast of what used to be the Oakland Raiders, now Las Vegas. Let's go to the other coast, over to the AFC East. We'll have Ace here give his take on how he thinks that division's going to go. So here we go, headlining against Buffalo Bills.
I think we have an idea.
Yeah, not going to be much of a surprise here where he's going to go, but let's roll the tape.
Started out in the West. Let's go all the way to the East. Now, this is pretty simple for me. It's the Buffalo Bills. I can see this team being 15-2, 14-3. Relatively easy schedule this year. If you looked at their schedule, it should be pretty nice for them. A lot of easy home games this year. Division should be tough with Miami, but I don't really have any thoughts that the Patriots are going to really give them a run for their money now that it's MAC season. I think the Bills lose most likely to them Chiefs and them Buccaneers, the two Super Bowl teams. But I think that's a good learning experience going into the playoffs and in next year, where they'll be one of the most highly competitive teams. So Bills winning the AFC East.
All right, so we heard Ace's pick there. He doesn't think so. If you take a look at ours real fast, we do agree with him. Both having the Bills coming out of this division at 14-3. We have the Patriots over 500 and in second place in the division, respectively. He doesn't seem to agree with that. What do you think?
Yeah, love Ace. Don't agree. I think we kind of talked about it already. I think the Patriots are going to be much improved. They bring back some reinforcements that opted out last year and spent the most money in free agency that I've ever seen the Patriots spend in free agency. Even when they have Tom Brady. Tom Brady's like, hey, can we spend some money, try to get somebody? They're like, yeah, we're good. We're going to keep it there. Now he's gone. They're like, wow, we're not very good without this Tom Brady guy. We should probably spend some money on some guys. Let's start with the Bills. Asa is right. The Bills do have a very easier schedule. They are playing the AFC South, so you're going to get the likes of the Houston Texans, and you're going to get the Jacksonville Jags. So chalk off 2 wins there, and then you get 2 wins with the Jets, and you can see pretty easily how the Bills can stack up 14 wins here. The 3 losses I have them losing to are Kansas City. I have them losing 2 in a row at Kansas City, at Tennessee. And then I also have them losing at New England, losing 1 game there. Bill Belichick's always good for 1. He's a mastermind. I'm going to give him 1. Now moving on to the Patriots, it's max time, right? I mean, we just talked about it for a little bit, and seems like that's who they're going to go. Well, not seems like that's who they're going to go with. Big questions for them, though, are at that quarterback position. What is Mac Jones? How good is he going to be, playing regular season professional NFL football? And at the skill positions, when you look at their skill position players, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, and Jacoby Myers, not really the 3 wide receiver set I want to be sending out there. I don't know about you guys, but go off. They did get Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. Big MO about Hunter Henry is he can never stay healthy, and, he kept that going. He's already hurt, so we'll see if he's ready for week 1. It looks like he is. Looks like he's going to be, but who knows? We're going to see a lot of 12. We're going to see a lot of 12 personnel with double tight, I suppose. And the O-line is loaded. I mean, Mac Jones is set up in a situation here where he can really succeed. The defense is going to be really good, exceptional. Bringing back Deontay Hightower, Matt Judon, they have quite a few pieces over there that look really appealing. Stephon Gilmore, obviously, we're hoping he's back soon. I know he's injured heading into the season, but, I think the Patriots are going to be a lot better than Asa thinks. I have them winning 11 games. I have the Dolphins also winning 11 games too. And the Dolphins have a tough schedule, 11th toughest schedule in football. But this team is stacked everywhere, but at the O-line, and there's some question marks at quarterback, which is what made some of their decisions this offseason a little interesting. Penei Sewell was sitting right there, left tackle. I think he's a franchise left tackle. He's had his struggles and tribulations through the first part of the preseason here, but they added Jalen Waddle. I mean, good Lord, Tua's got more weapons and he knows what to do with. Jalen Waddle, Will Fuller, Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki, Myles Gaskin, if you like his flavor out of the backfield. The Miami defense with Brian Flores at the helm was top 10 last year. Adding Jalen Phillips to that edge position was a position that they really needed to add someone at, and they were able to find an absolute steal in their backyard at the University of Miami. So I really think that's gonna improve for them, and I see them winning 11 games. And the Jets, I'm gonna be honest, Zach Wilson's looked pretty good this preseason. I mean, he's shown me a lot of the stuff that I was questioning whether he could do or not from the pocket. Obviously, preseason, very vanilla. You're not playing against a whole lot of starters. He's going to have to be unbelievable, though, for them to even sniff 500. This roster's just not very good. I like their skill position players with Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, who they just drafted, Jamison Crowder, Tevin Coleman out of the backfield is fine, and Mekhi Becton and Elijah Vera Tucker should be good, but that offensive line still needs a lot of work on the other side, on the left side there, and their secondary needs a ton of work. So I don't see the Jets winning very many games. If you look at their schedule, it's not a very favorable schedule. I mean, look at their division. I mean, we have their division stacking out pretty good here. That's 6 losses for the Jets before we even start looking outside of the division. So, yeah, that's how I see the AFC East playing out.
Yeah, Buffalo Bills pretty clear cut here. I'm going to pull up this comment from Ryan real quick. I like how you worded this. Same standings, definitely much improved division though than the cakewalk TB12 got to face for his tenure. Yeah, I mean you couldn't have said it any better. He literally, I believe his record was somewhere near like 40-4 in his career as a New England Patriot against the AFC East. He just didn't lose against him. He was literally 6 wins you could ride in almost every single year. I do agree with you. I think the Patriots are going to be better. Like you mentioned, a lot of players returning. Most of those who are returning were opt-outs, like you mentioned, especially Dante Hightower, who's the captain and basically ringleader of that defense that's been formidable over the last decade. The Dolphins 9-8. I think they're going to do okay. They may even win a couple more games more. I just don't know what like you said, the investment in Jalen Waddle. You signed Will Fuller in the offseason. Will Fuller, Devontae Parker, Mike Gesicki. You could have gone elsewhere, maybe found a receiver later in the draft. I know Waddle's good, but Penei Sewell, again, was sitting right there. Not even Penei Sewell, was it? Rashawn Slater was there too. Elijah Vera Tucker. I mean, pick your flavor, whichever offensive lineman you wanted that you could have taken there. Vera Tucker may have been a reach at 6, but the Jets are going to struggle, unfortunately. Carl Lawson tore his just got traded to the Texans. I just forgot. They signed him in the offseason. They signed an edge rusher in the offseason, and he tore his ACL, so he's out for the season. I'm blanking on his name right now. Forgive me. But yeah, the Jets it's going to be an uphill battle for the Jets. Zach Wilson looked pretty decent in a couple preseason games.
Carl Lawson,
Carl Lawson. So then who got traded to the Texans? So Carl Lawson tore his ACL, and then someone else got traded to the Texans.
Yeah, they're on the Texans now, so welcome to the abyss.
Just a fun fact.
I looked up Tom Brady's record versus the AFC East. It's as ridiculous as you would think. He's 86-22. He's got a 79% winning percentage against the AFC East.
So mine was just the home splits.
I mean, Jesus, man. If he plays 10 games, he's winning 8 of them. Good Lord.
Yeah, not going to fly anymore. I think the Bills definitely finished as the easy runaway 2 seed here, though. What remains to be seen what happens with Miami. Miami could like I said, they could surprise and be a little bit better and look to improve. I mean, they finished 10-6 last year, but just a hair away from the playoffs. But I think with New England improved, I think it's going to be hard for them to get both wins like they did last year against them. So we'll see. Anything else on the AFC East, Jay?
No, that's it. Bills division to lose.
All right, here we go. Now we're moving on. We're going down south. Here goes the AFC South. Let's see who Ace has.
All right. We hit the coasts. Now let's go down south. The AFC South. Now, I think that this might be the NFC least equivalent this year. I don't really think the Jags are going to win too many games. Houston, I have them winning 1 game, which is going to be hilarious to see them pull off.
Let's go!
Stock in Houston. I do like their defensive backs over there, but
so hard to find a
tough
win
for them this year. I think Indianapolis and Tennessee fight it out this year. And I have the Colts going 10-7, beating out the Tennessee Titans, who are going to only go 8-9. Indianapolis Colts make the playoffs again as one of the division winners. I do like the addition of Carson Wentz, but I don't know if this team has enough offensively. Showed me last season that I really want to put some stock in them. They can only win games against some of the elites when it's in the 20s, and they have to get lucky otherwise. So I'm gonna still take the Colts to make the playoffs. We'll see what happens.
All right, so he's taking the Colts. Looks like you are too here, Jay. I'm riding with the Titans, but I think the Colts are a game right on their heels. Why are you taking the Colts? Why do you think they win the division here? Especially with the Colts, if you take a look at their schedule, they have. Let's just read it off real quick here, just to give you guys an idea of what it looks like. So. They have Seattle and the Rams at home, and then they travel. Where I lost my place. Then they travel to Tennessee, to Miami, and then to Baltimore, before getting Houston. So a bit of a rough go. It looked like it was going to be even worse when Carson Wentz injury happened. He's back. He's probably going to be ready week 1. So was Quentin Nelson. It looks like. So Jay, why do you? How do they even make it out of this? Beginning stages of this season, to be honest with you, and it end up at 11-6 because they could easily go. Oh, this could easily be an 0-5 start for them.
I mean, I have them starting 1-5 if that brings you any solace. But it gets pretty cakey in the middle.
Feel good.
Well, it gets pretty cakey in the middle. So let's talk about the football team first, right? Front 7, they're going to dominate the trenches on both sides of the football. One of the best offensive lines in football, and honestly, one of the best defensive lines in football. Offensively, they added Eric Fisher, Quentin Nelson, Ryan Kelly, Mark Lowetsky, Brandon Smith. D-line, they just drafted Kwity Paye, DeForest Buckner. Leonard is there at linebacker, who's an absolute stud. I'm pretty high on the Colts. I think Carson Wentz is super talented. I don't think that's kind of a bad take. I mean, he was unbelievable when he was in Philly. Philly won a championship and decided to erect a statue of his backup when Carson Wentz was the one dragging them to that playoff positioning. And then they go ahead. The guy has a few good games for Philadelphia, and we put this statue in front of the dang stadium and act like it's not going to do anything to Carson Wentz. Unbelievable. Absolutely ridiculous. And they do. They do have a tough start to the season. But then after that game at Baltimore, they get Houston at home, at San Francisco, which I think San Francisco is good, but I think they win that game. At home to Tennessee, then they get the Jets, and then they get Jacksonville. In my opinion, they go on a little 5-game winning streak right there. So, yeah, I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to be pretty good. I don't love their skill position players, especially because we're still trotting out the corpse of T.Y. Hilton out there. A little scary, but, by all means, we got to get some weapons for our boy Carson, so I'm with it. The Tennessee Titans are good, but that defense, big question mark. They did add Bud Dupree, which I liked. They also added Julio Jones to that offense, losing Corey Davis. So that was a big replacement. They drafted Dylan Radins, and then they also drafted Caleb Farley to help out in that secondary because that secondary, But Ace is right, dude. You could smell this division coming from a while away because the Texans and the Jags are going to, they are going to stink. They are going to be bad. You're looking at Houston's, you look at Houston's schedule. It was hard to find one. It was hard to find one. Who's the one win I gave him? Hold on. Who's the one win? I gave him a win versus the Jags. That's it. Week 1. That's the only game I gave him. That's it. That's the only game I'm going to give him. They're going to start 1-0, and then it's going to be a lot of losing after that. Jacksonville, they're just not ready, bro. Honestly, Urban Meyer's there. I already have about 5 question marks as to why the hell we're doing some of the stuff we're doing. We have James Robinson, who was one of the most, dude was an absolute workhorse last year. And instead of going out and trying to get a lineman or some secondary help to help out this god-awful defense, we draft another running back. I get it was Travis Etienne, and that was Trevor Lawrence's homeboy. You could have gotten him in the second round. After Najee Harris went to the Steelers, there was no other running back that was going to be taken. Look at the teams that were drafting after them. Everyone has a running back. There was no chance. So I think that was a huge reach. You can already question some of the decisions they made. Tim Tebow trying to bring him in, and it's absolutely ridiculous. So 3-14 for the Jags, 1-16 for the Texans. If you're playing any of these teams, you pencil in a win?
I mean, basically, I'm not going to talk too much about the Jags and the Texans. The only thing I'll say is that Trevor Lawrence has never lost I'm pretty sure he's never lost a game, or what was it? It was there was a crazy stat about him. He hadn't lost a game or whatever since high school or something. He's lost them in college. I forget what the stat was, but he's gonna go 3-14. I think he wins week 1. I think he wins the first game of the season against Houston. I have Houston beating the Jets down the line somewhere. I had to talk myself into one. The only reason I have the Titans finishing over the Colts, who I actually think the Colts will end up being a better team at the end of the season, even though the record's going to show a little differently, is because of that rocky start. And I think the Titans will be good. They finished 10-6 last year, so I think they'll capitalize and get one extra win. The addition of Julio Jones is nice, but I don't expect Mike Vrabel to change his style just because Julio Jones is in town. AJ Brown will get his, and honestly, so will Derrick Henry. I'm sitting here wondering. I'm wondering maybe do they go for 3,000 yards on the ground for Derrick Henry? No, they went from 1,500. He literally went incrementally. He went from 1,000 50 yards to 1,500 yards to 2,000 yards. Like in 2018 he was at 1,000. 2019 he was at 1,500, and then 2,000 this past season. So yeah, I think Tennessee sneaks in as the division winner, but I don't think they're there for very long, especially if Carson is able to get a foothold in this offense, which I think he really will. And again, you mentioned dominating in the trenches. Indy has a sneaky good defense. Malik Hooker on the back end too. We didn't even mention Pierre Desir on the back end, who used to be with the Jets, who's now playing a much more expanded role with the Colts, who's made a name for himself. So I think the Colts will be a good team, and I think they'll eventually be the team going forward in this division for the next few years. I think Tennessee will have a drop off. I'm not a big Ryan Tannehill fan. I know you can throw stats at me. You can do whatever you want. Say that he's been solid. When he gets to the playoffs, he's been cheeks. So if Drew Lock's not going to be a starter anymore and be the captain of Team Cheeks, Ryan Tannehill will be in 2 years. So
gosh, I don't think Ryan Tannehill is that
totally
bad.
Kidding. No, he's not that bad.
Good luck fantasy wise, especially DFS wise, Joe. Wink, wink. Figuring out what the hell you're going to do with this team. I mean, good Lord. It's going to be Tilt City, right? Because the week that I start Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill is going to score a rushing touchdown, throw one to Julio, throw one to A.J. Brown, and then he's going to absolutely smash. Or the week that I start A.J. Brown, Julio Jones is going to have 2 touchdowns. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I very well may be staying away from Tennessee from a fantasy standpoint with a 10-foot pole, like the dang Grinch when it comes to Christmas. Stay away. I'm good because I don't know what the hell they're going to do.
Oh, man. You mentioned Christmas, and that's up in the North Pole. So why don't we go to the AFC and to their North Pole, into this next division?
I see what you did there.
A little bit. So let's go ahead and bring in Ace again to give us his take on the AFC North.
All right, let's head up north. The AFC North is next. Now, I really like the Browns this season, and I really like the Ravens too. I think both of these teams are going to slug it out. I see both of these teams as the creme de la creme, the cream of the crop, the top 2 teams of this division. I don't see the Pittsburgh Steelers even breaking 500 this year, and the Cincinnati Bengals will get a few more wins this year. It'll be nice to see Joey Burrow and in a healthy season. But I have the slight edge to Baltimore, have them going 14-3, have the Cleveland Browns going 13-4. So, I mean, both of these teams are playoff teams, and it's going to be wild to see these two face off this year. They had a couple really nice games last year, so Lamar poop game.
That's great. Yeah, that was hilarious. It lived down in infamy.
Wait, is that what's worse than the no? That's definitely. I don't know what's worse.
Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce with the crack with
it was Paul Pierce. It was Paul Pierce acting like he got shot on the freaking basketball court for a cramp. Unbelievable. I mean, people made fun of LeBron, and they actually the air conditioning in San Antonio was not working that day, and they want to make fun of LeBron. This man, Paul Pierce, had to get wheelchaired off the court for a cramp. Looked like he got shot, only to come back 10 minutes later after getting an IV. Get over yourself, Paul Pierce. Anyway,
getting back to football, we have this. So it looks like we have the same projections here for not record wise, but where we think everyone's going to finish. I have Baltimore, Cleveland finishing at 12-5 at the same record. I think Baltimore gets both games in the regular season, even at home against Cleveland. I think they're the better team, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be Harvin to pass the ball, but Lamar, I think Lamar is criminally underrated. I think this isn't even a discussion we're going to jump into very deep, but I think having Kyler Murray rated higher than him is absolutely egregious and completely dumbfounding to even have that be produced on a list of top 100 players. But whatever, we move on. But I do think Cleveland's going to be much improved. The Jadeveon Clowney addition on the defensive line, I guess, helps, but Myles Garrett has already proven he doesn't really need extra help on there. He's literally a menace. If he's not the best pass rusher in the league, he's top 2, top 3. We have the Steelers finishing with the same record. The defense will be okay. I just don't trust Big Ben. I don't like Big Ben. I want Big Ben gone. And the Bengals will be a little bit more improved from last year. I think Joey Burrow will be, a couple games more. They went 6-10 last year, so 6-11. They'll win the same amount of games, but they're not there just yet in this division, especially with how top heavy it is.
Yeah, I think this is Baltimore's division to lose. I think they're much improved. The biggest thing for Baltimore was getting the ball vertical last year. Literally impossible. Kind of hard when you have Hollywood Brown, who's about a whole 5'8", always lined up outside and not giving him easy touches in the slot. Golly, drafting Rashad Bateman and signing Sammy Watkins. If that doesn't start to get Hollywood Brown more in the slot, I'm going to go down there and me and Harbaugh are going to have a conversation. We're going to have a conversation because it doesn't make any sense to me. I think those were 2 huge additions. I think losing J.K. Dobbins is a big deal. I'm going to maybe be on a limb here. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Baltimore Ravens last year were the first team in NFL history to have 3 players rush for over 1,000 yards with Lamar Jackson, J.K. Dobbins, and Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards will step right in there. By the way, Baltimore, Todd Gurley's a free agent, just in case you were looking. Because, he's not the old Todd Gurley, but no, not a bad look. So I think that's a big question mark for them. Well, not that big of a question mark, but a question mark that people think is a question mark that I'm not too worried about. On the defensive line, they did lose Matthew Judon. They did lose Yannick Ngakoue, but they did draft Owe. I always frick up his name from Penn State. Josh Owe. They were saying his name was Josh, but it wasn't actually Josh.
Jason, but his given name is Odafe.
Odafe Owe.
Yeah.
Really liked him last year coming out of the draft, so we'll see what he can do. He's going to have an opportunity to step up big time. And then they went and got Justin Houston, who, obviously a veteran presence that they can add to that defensive line. The Cleveland Browns are stacked. My problem with Cleveland is they are going to go as far as Baker Mayfield takes them. He's had a solid preseason, had a really good showing in that game 3. Not even going to lie. That dime he threw for the touchdown, very nice. He's still Baker Mayfield, so everyone kind of slow down. This team is loaded everywhere. Defensively, offensively, obviously they're bringing back Odell Beckham from injury, so that's a huge get for them. I don't know how, in God's name, they were able to get Greg Newsome in the first round, and then for Owosu Koromoa to fall to them in the second round. I had them taking Koromoa with their first round pick, and somehow he fell all the way to the second round for them. Doesn't make any sense to me, but the rich get richer, I suppose, there with Cincinnati. When it goes to Pittsburgh, they took hits on both the offensive and defensive front seven. The offensive line, they lost Alejandro Villanueva. They cut David DeCastro, lost Matt Feeler. And then defensively, they lost Bud Dupree. I don't see how they got better in the slightest. I mean, I guess if you ask a Steeler fan, they kept Juju Smith-Schuster and he didn't go to the Chiefs. Good for you. Juju Smith-Schuster took less money to go back and play with the corpse of Big Ben instead of coming to Kansas City and winning the Super Bowl. So by all I can tell, Juju Smith, have fun doing your TikTok dances. He's already doing the crate challenge, like as if you didn't need another reason. Like he's doing the crate challenge, bro. Like you're going to eat it and twist an ankle or something.
The crate challenge is one, just real quick. The crate challenge is one of the more and there's a lot of stupidity on social media. The crate challenge is quite possibly one of the stupidest ones, maybe up there next to planking. If people remember planking.
Oh, planking, yeah.
Please don't do the crate challenge. Please. I can't stomach watching abnormally large people falling 15 feet trying to climb crates.
Dude, they hit the floor like rag dolls. The original dude, I mean, side of the head, the dude's got a concussion. I mean, he's out 2 weeks, got a concussion. I mean, not even a question. Full body force, side of the face. Dude is out 2 weeks, no shot. That dude is he's on the injured list. I mean, good Lord. Okay, and then the Bengals are going to stink, man. I'm just being honest. Joe Burrow does look like a franchise quarterback. There have been some rumors that this preseason and this training camp, not preseason because he didn't play, but this training camp, not what you really wanted to see. I'm going to tell you why. You should probably have invested something in the offensive line, which was awful last year. Tore his ACL because he was hit with the 4th highest rate of any quarterback in the games he started last year. And then Penei Sewell sitting right there, but let's go get another receiver and get Jamar Chase. And I'm not really, and I don't mean this as a bad way because Jamar Chase is very good. Easily number 1 wide receiver in the draft last year. Obviously, you have the Joe Burrow connection, which would make you want to go get him. But when you are this desperate for offensive line help, I don't understand how you do it. And then, you just give me ammunition when you drop 5 passes in the preseason. I don't want to knock Jamar Chase. I think he's going to be a stud. But you already have questions about why we didn't go offensive line, and then you drop 5 passes in the preseason.
I didn't even know they banned this. Sorry to jump ship, but I didn't even know they banned the crate challenge. That's crazy.
Oh, me either.
That's good.
Good for TikTok. Yes, I'll get people hurting themselves.
But last thing on the Jamar Chase thing, we talked about it on the shows previous. I was very, very adamant they were going to take him. I didn't agree with it though. I did think they should have went offensive line. Again, same situation with the Dolphins. They went with a receiver instead of an offensive lineman for a quarterback who desperately needed an offensive lineman. So I guess if you don't like Rashawn Slater and Penei Sewell, what offensive lineman are you going to like? Oh, I'll tell you, they're going to like Riley Reif, who was formerly of the Minnesota Vikings and was cut last season. So they signed him. Jonah Williams, they have him a couple of years ago, is still developing from Alabama.
And he had an average season last year, Jonah Williams.
Exactly. Right. He had an average season.
Cincinnati fans will swear Riley Reif is going to solve this problem, his offensive line problem for some reason. He was just cut by the Vikings, who have offensive line problems. What did the Vikings do with their first round pick? They drafted a franchise tackle, Darisaw, because they're not all that dumb. I mean, golly, dude.
Yeah. Again, I said that was the last thing. The last thing I'll say too is a player that I'm going to be focusing very highly again this year. Oh my god, now I'm forgetting his name. T. Higgins, especially with the emergence of T. Higgins and how well he played last year. It's a little surprising that they didn't get that off. And it was right there. I know, like you were right next to your hands in the cookie jar. You want Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, but it's just not the right move. But they will continue. They will continue to be the little brother in this division until they, maybe luck into another Andy Dalton or Joe Burrow takes his team to heights that they haven't seen before. But we'll have to wait and see.
These great receivers need a little bit of time at least to run. It takes a little bit of time to run a route.
I mean, the receiving core looks great, but you do need protection. I mean, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase has great potential. Again, we'll have to wait and see. All right, so we're going to transition over. That was the last division. We covered the Northwest, East, and South. We're going to go over to the NFC now, and Ace is going to give us his prediction, starting off with the NFC West. And here it is.
To the NFC we go. Let's start off the same place where we started off last time, the NFC West. Now, I really, really like the LA Rams this season, but I don't think it's going to be as perfect as a season as we, and myself, I guess not we, think it might be. They have a pretty tough schedule. I mean, they play in the most competitive division in all of football, so not a game is going to be close. I have the Rams finishing second in this division, 11-6, to the Seattle Seahawks, who will be 14-3. Now, I believe in Russ. Love that guy. I don't think they have any issues with their offense, so let's see if their defense, that Seattle 12th man, finally gets a little bit together this year and pushes this division, makes it even more competitive than we think it is. Both of these teams will be playoff teams. I have the Niners finishing 10-7. I think that's great, considering that they're going to be in a QB rotation probably this season. And then the Arizona Cardinals, man, 10-7. They're probably the best 10-7 team we might ever see, in this new 17-game schedule. So it's going to be nice. It's going to be interesting. But I got the Seattle Seahawks winning the division.
All right,
smart,
so
lads.
Yep, smart, very smart. Seahawks winning the division, going 13-4. Jay and I both have them taken as top dog. I like the Rams too. I like what Ace said. I think they'll still be very good. I think 12-5. The Matthew Stafford upgrade was really good. Cooper Kupp, Robert Wood, Deshaun Jackson, pretty solid wide receiver trio. They did lose Cam Akers, which is a little bit problematic. They traded for Sony Michel though, who runs similarly, almost like that slashing style, kind of like a Todd Gurley slasher who. Sean McVay first started out with the Rams. And so let's see if that pickup might help them and benefit them a little bit. San Francisco, I'm just not sure what their quarterbacks in the room's going to look like, but this is one of those things where like their roster is just kind of almost like Denver's, just a little bit better coached. One of the best rosters in the NFL. I don't like Arizona. I mean, I'm just going to be completely honest. I think Kyler's talented. D-Hop is very good. I just don't like them. I really don't. Chandler Jones wants out. They signed J.J. Watt in the offseason, so they have the oldest defensive line in all of football. Developing players like Budda Baker and Isaiah Simmons, I don't think is enough, especially with the loss of Patrick Peterson, who obviously wasn't at his best, but is still a presence in that room, and his intellect is going to be missing from that defensive unit. So we'll see. I don't necessarily know. This is a conversation I had with Jay, and maybe he'll give a little take on it. About Cliff Kingsbury. I don't know if he's on the hot seat this season, if he finishes last in this division again because of how tied he is to Kyler Murray, but you got to start asking the question, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you do. Again, when we talked about this a little bit yesterday, a little bit behind the scenes, I just don't know if you can get rid of Cliff Kingsbury with Kyler Murray as your quarterback there and bring in a guy that's going to come in and reevaluate Kyler Murray. And I mean, this was Cliff Kingsbury's hand-picked guy. Like literally, they are attached at the hip pretty much when it comes to quarterback and head coach combinations. So I don't have them doing very well either. I think that secondary needed a lot of work. I think they could have used that first round pick on a secondary piece. They got Zaven Collins, who I thought was going to be there for the Bucs at 32. Clearly that wasn't the case. So I guess if they want to let Chandler Jones go or trade him off somewhere, they do have some reinforcements behind him to, make that happen. But I think Chandler Jones is a pretty good football player, so I'd want to keep him if I were the Cardinals. I have the Seahawks finishing as the best team. I love Russell Wilson. I don't know if I like him more than other people, and that's just kind of why I always have the Seahawks winning this many games. I always think they're going to do really well. 12-4 is normally right around where I have them. For a lot of the deficiencies they have a lot of really good pieces on both sides of the football, starting with Russell Wilson and Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and, Chris Carson. The offensive line is improved. I think getting Shane Waldron from the Los Angeles Rams was a big get for them. I'm hoping that he brings a lot of that play action pass that he was doing over there with Jared Goff and Sean McVay in Los Angeles over to Russell Wilson, because I think that can really benefit him. Just a quick thing on Russell Wilson, right? Because if you look back to last year and you look after week 11, you would think that the Seattle Seahawks won because of their defense and their run game. I'm going to let you guys know that was very much not the case. It had to do with that they were playing the worst competition they saw the entire season, and their defense looked exceptionally good against this awful competition. So when you look at it, right, the Seahawks won 6 of their last 7 games last year after Pete Carroll will tell you, committing to the run and defense. What he won't tell you is that they faced Kyler Murray with a messed up hamstring, Carson Wentz, who had all of his obviously confidence stripped away by the Philadelphia Eagles, then Colt McCoy, Sam Darnold and the Jets, Dwayne Haskins, Jared Goff, and then that was for the first quarter, and then John Wolford after he broke his thumb, and then they played CJ Beathard. So yeah, I think most defense is going to look pretty damn good when you're facing a team that none of those teams that I just mentioned finished above 17th in passing offense last year. So this commit to the run crap is a bunch of baloney to me. Russell Wilson is a top 3 quarterback right now, a top 4 or 5 quarterback if you want to say that, but I think he's a top 3 quarterback in the league right now. So let Russ cook a little bit, and don't just do it in the beginning of the season. Let him do it. For someone who runs and moves as much as he doesn't get hit all that often. The Rams, there's not a whole lot to say about them. They're unbelievable. I mean, I think they were a quarterback away. They have playmakers on offense. They have playmakers on defense. This is going to be a very good football team. I think adding Matthew Stafford was a big get for them. Question marks there. Obviously, Matthew Stafford, just to be frank, hasn't won anything. I mean, he didn't win in college. He didn't win in the NFL. He hasn't won since. So, hopefully that, for Sean McVay's portion, hopefully, Matthew Stafford comes in and does what he hopes he can do. And then the San Francisco 49ers, they're going to be very good. I do worry about their receiving core a little bit, considering that Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk, for some reason, just have a tendency to drop a lot of footballs. And we saw that happen already this preseason. Brandon Ayuk had 3 and Deebo Samuel had 2. So a little scary there. And then who the hell is going to be their quarterback? When does Trey Lance come in? Does he come in? I've mentioned it before. Shanahan's winning percentage when Jimmy Garoppolo is his starting quarterback is like 72%, which is pretty damn good. And when it's not, it's like 33%. So you better be damn sure and ready that Trey Lance is that guy before I get rid of a guy who, when I start him, I win 75% of my games.
Yeah, well said. I think I want to believe that I'm in the camp that Jimmy's going to be the starter week 1, but I really don't know. Trey Lance looked a little shaky in his first game. Didn't play very well in the preseason. In his first outing, then kind of picked it up later on. Saw him running the ball a little bit. So there's a lot they could do with him, but it'll be interesting to see what Kyle Shanahan decides to do. What was that?
47% completion percentage for Trey Lance in the preseason.
Not good. The game against the Chiefs, he was 5 of 21. So that had a lot to do with it. He didn't throw the ball nearly as much in the following 2 preseason games when he did play. Like I said, you did see him run the ball a little bit, but as Ace also said in his video, this is going to be probably the toughest division in football going into next season. I think everyone's kind of projected for that. A lot of talent, a lot of good quarterbacks. So we'll see. Very excited to see how this one shakes out. Moving on to the next NFC division, we're going to go from one coast back to the other again. We're going to go to the NFC East this time. So here's Ace with his prediction for the NFC East.
So we started off on the West. Where do we go next? It's the NFC East. Now, I think...
Hey, that's what I said.
My heart really wants to say the Washington football team will catapult their way to another playoff scenario in which they were competitive and they had a shot. But alas, I don't have the Washington football team making the playoffs this year. And Philadelphia Eagles fans, don't kid yourself. You're going to go 3-14, and you'll be okay with that because you'll get a top pick again next year. I have the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants finishing at 11-6 this year. But the Dallas Cowboys get the slight edge because they'll have the tiebreaker over the New York Giants. I really, really like Dak. Now, Andrew's not the only person on this segment that likes Dak, so I think Dak wins it for them because they win the close games against the Giants. But it's gonna be interesting. But I don't think that we're gonna have a similar situation last year where every team in this division had a shot. No, it's gonna be the Giants and the Cowboys till the end of the season.
I do like Dak. I've said it many times in this program. I do like Dak. I think this is, and maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. I probably will be wrong because it's the Cowboys. And most people are wrong about the Cowboys, especially those in the media who have said over the last few seasons that this is the Cowboys year. The Cowboys are going to be good. This is the one year that the media is not talking about the Cowboys. So why wouldn't they come out and just be good, right? I think Dak is, a very good quarterback. I don't know where you would rank him in the echelon, but I mean, he's a very good quarterback. Got the money that he, I believe, rightfully deserved. Only played 5 games last season. 3 of those games he passed for over 450 yards. Obviously, that's not sustainable, but the guy can sling it. And then when now he's going to be able to come back to an improved offensive line, hopefully an improved Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott's one of the more criminally underrated running backs in the NFL, and Johnny will tell you that every day of the week if you're willing to listen to it. But he's going to be able to throw health like with some time healthily to Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, a healthy Blake Jarwin who tore his ACL in game 1 of last year. So I think the Dallas Cowboys this is their division to lose. I think the Giants finished relatively close to 500. I don't like Daniel Jones. I like their supporting cast. I like Saquon. I'm not a big fan of Kenny Golladay, but I do like Sterling Shepard as like that number 2 complement receiver. I think they could have gotten a better one, and they did draft Kadarius Toney, so maybe he'll play a bigger role than we know of at the moment. Defensively, they're pretty solid. Joe Judge has his unit pretty locked up. Has his defensive unit pretty good. Leonard Williams just re-upped his contract, so he'll be there in the middle of the defensive line to make sure that's shored up. I don't have Washington as highly rated as Ace does. Jay has him finishing in second. He'll talk about that right now. I just don't know how far Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to get you. I think he's good for a couple wins in the season, or if you need it in a pinch. I think the Eagles will win a couple games that they shouldn't, to be honest with you. So I have them finishing 7-10. I don't think they'll be a good football team by any stretch of the imagination. I wouldn't be surprised if they win fewer than 5 games. But I think Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders and the crop of talent they have, I think that they'll be able to win a couple games that they probably shouldn't win, like I said. And so that's how I think it's going to shake out. I think they'll probably lose most of their division games. So that's why they end up at the bottom of this division and could possibly, like I said, do even worse. Jay, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Dallas. Okay, I'll start with the Eagles because Joseph's right. The Eagles aren't very good this year, unfortunately. Look up and down the roster. It's just not very good. One of their best players is Zach Ertz, and he's looking like he has one foot out the door, to be honest. I know today he said, that he's ready to put the offseason drama behind him. I don't know if the Eagles are. I think if they can get a draft pick, they probably move him in the middle of the season. I would at least. There's an argument to be made that the Dallas Cowboys have the second best skill group in all of football offensively. I mean, when you look at Blake Jarwin, like Andrew mentioned, Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, Dak should throw for like 6,000 yards. I mean, they got a really good offensive line. I think the defense is pretty solid. For as much people want to crap on their defense, they had a top 10 ranked secondary in PFF. Their front 7 isn't amazing, but that linebacking core, adding Micah Parsons and adding Jabril Cox too, they do kind of have a logjam there when you look at it in terms of Jabril Cox, Micah Parsons, Jalen Smith. I mean, there's a lot of good linebackers there. I'm hoping that they can find a way to get them on the field all together.
You mentioned Van Der Esch.
Yeah, Leighton Vander Esch, who's unbelievable as well. He just, for some reason, can't stay healthy. I don't know if that 7-man football he played when he was in college has anything to do with why he can't stay healthy with 11-man football. Totally kidding. He's unbelievable. But, I think the Washington football team is going to vie for one of the best defenses in football. You look at their secondary is absolutely ridiculous. Their front 7 is even more ridiculous. I think their front 7 may be better than I'm going to go on a limb. It's better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers front 7 right now. That's how good their front 7 is. So I can see them really making a leap. Andrew mentioned, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Ryan Fitzpatrick seems to always get pushed out to see another quarterback. I don't know who on this quarterback roster Ron Rivera wants to see. there's no one there, really. You saw Taylor Heineke. That's pretty much it. So I think this is Ryan Fitzpatrick's job to just absolutely waste away. And I don't think that's going to happen. I think they have a good group of position players as well with Antonio Gibson and Logan Thomas and Terry McLaurin and the both Sims. I think that they're going to go a long way. I think they win 10 games here. Their schedule is not too difficult. And you take a look at it, have a lot of winnable games. The Giants are someone I'm not as high on, mainly because they had issues going into the offseason. They solved none of them. They improved at places that they were already really good at. I mean, when you look at their pass catchers and their skill position players on offense, they have a whole lot of them too. Kind of the same thing I said with the Bengals. Those guys have to have time to get open down the field, and running backs like Saquon Barkley need to have places to run through. I mean, he's not just going to break 80-yard touchdowns and break 5 tackles on the way through them every darn time. It's just not going to happen. You have to have an offensive line that's capable of blocking, and I argue that the Giants have one of the bottom 5 offensive lines in the league right now, and they did nothing to improve that this offseason. So I don't think the Giants are going to be very good. I think they can lose a lot of football games, and when you look at their schedule, I don't see a lot of wins, in my opinion. So 6-11 is where I have them, and yeah, like I said, the Eagles. Love you, Joe, but at least Joe is realistic about his Philadelphia Eagles. Except Nick Foles, he's just in love with Nick Foles for God knows why.
Hey, it brought him a Super Bowl. I mean, to be honest, I don't know if I would be reacting any differently. To be honest with you, he did win a Super Bowl. I mean, the guy came in for 7 games, just slung the football around, and beat Tom Brady, outdueled Tom Brady in a Super Bowl. I mean, it's hard to blame him, but yeah, they're going to be pretty weak this year.
Yeah,
I probably should have had him around 5-12, 6-11, maybe even less than that. But I put him at 7-10. I don't know what I was thinking. There's a lot of games to cover, man.
When you look at this sheet, man, it is daunting. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy. 250. Well, no, actually, it was 256 for the 16-game schedule. Now it's 256 plus 17. Come on, quick math. Who could do it?
17 to 8.
It's 273.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
273 games. There we go. Thanks for that, Jay. You helped out. All right. Anyway, so that's the NFC East. Cowboys looking like they're going to run away with it, at least from our standpoint. So let's go over to the NFC South, who had the other Super Bowl representative and the Super Bowl winner, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And let's see what Ace has to say
NFC
about
South. This one's not even easy. It's easy. Yeah, no, it is. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They'll go 13-4 this season. I think they will take a couple of games off at the end of the season. They don't care if they are the quote-unquote 1 seed. This team just wants to be healthy with Tom Brady going into the playoffs. So I think they have that advantage with bringing all 22 of their starters, continuity, coach, QB, that all that continuity works for them. It's going to continue to work this season. They will drop a couple more games just because of that. And I watched Tampa Bay Buccaneers play all last season. They didn't play super well the whole season. So I expect them to do similar to last season. The Atlanta Falcons being the closest shot to them at 9-8, but Carolina, they'll be in a slightly rebuilding year. Not having CMC last year hurt them. And then the New Orleans Saints probably win 5 games, but I don't think this division is close at all. Tampa Bay probably wins it by like 5 games. So Tampa Bay Buccaneers win in the NFC South.
All right, no surprises, as Ace said. He does have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers also winning. We have them winning a little bit more games. This is another one of those scenarios when we talked about the Chiefs at the beginning. Even with the Bill, it's just where do they lose, And obviously, the NFL happens. Anything can happen any given Sunday, all the yada yada and stuff. But I mean, genuinely, when you look at some of these teams, it's pretty top heavy, and I just don't see Tampa losing a lot of games. And full disclosure, I have no clue what's going on with the bottom 3 teams in this division, because it's not going to be any of these teams that are going to be winning any close to double-digit games. Jay is a little bit higher on Carolina. I don't think he'd be surprised if they, finished a little closer to 500, but he has them at 7-10. I have at 6-11, and the Falcons at 7-10. I just don't know. I really don't. The Falcons, I don't know if they're trying to win, or if they're trying to, if they want to lose, or if they want to be better, or if they hired a new coach. They trade away Julio Jones, but they draft Kyle Pitts and they keep Calvin Ridley, and I don't know. And then you have Jameis season, who's going to eat some W's, probably about 7 of them that I think will probably have 7 W's, 1 for each day of the week. And I just don't know. With this division, I really don't know. The only certainty I know is that Tom Brady and the Bucs are going to be the 1 seed in the NFC. And that's about all I have to say about the NFC South because I just don't know. I really don't. It's Sam Darnold with a new coach, and Robbie Anderson, and a healthy C-Mac. I mean, I just don't know.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I'm a little nervous saying this, but was Tom Brady right? Are the Bucs going to be even better this year than they were last year because they didn't have an offseason last year? And I mean, he literally came out and said that they returned all 22 starters. When you look at their skill position players, it's absolutely ridiculous. Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Rob Gronkowski, Cameron Brate. I mean, they got everybody. And then that's just on offense and not including all the studs they have defensively. So yeah, I have them going 14-3. I don't know how a team that won the Super Bowl got the fourth easiest schedule in the NFL, but go off Tampa, you did. Yeah, definitely. I'm high on Carolina, mostly because I like Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's pretty good, and I think that there's a chance that they win more games in this, but their last four are tough. I mean, this last four is tough for any team. They're going to have Atlanta at home, but then they go to Buffalo, then they get the Bucs at home, then they go to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, to New Orleans, and then they get the Bucs in Tampa. So, I mean, that's 4 L's. So, yeah, I had them at about 7. I had them at like 7-6, feeling good. And then I saw the end of the schedule, L. I'm like, holy shit, nay. Their offensive line is not great, but it's not terrible either. And, I mean, when you look at their position groups with DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey, you add Terrace Marshall to that mix. They're going to be a team to be reckoned with. I think they're going to be pretty good. I think the Saints, I'm going to be honest, they're a little overrated. Drew Brees was a big reason why the Saints have been the Saints. If you look at the New Orleans Saints, before they got Drew Brees, they were very bad. And then they got Drew Brees, and all of a sudden they were very good. So what in God's name is going to tell me that now that he's gone, they're going to continue being very good? Because Jameis. Yeah, Jameis. If you think Jameis is going to stop doing what he was doing in Tampa, everyone's like, Jameis is going to throw 30 touchdowns. Sure, he's going to throw about 20 interceptions too. Have about 5 fumbles. So yeah, it's absolutely right. He's going to give away as many as he gives to your team. So go off with that. And they don't have a very easy schedule. They play 4 of their first 6 games on the road. Michael Thomas is already on the PUP list. He's going to miss at least the first 5 because they have a bye week in week 6, which is pretty awful because then you have 11 weeks after that you have to grind through. Early buys, not my favorite. And everyone wants to talk about their defense. They lost their defensive end, Hendrickson over there. He went to the Bengals. Is that his name, right, Andrew? Am I tripping on that? Yeah, he went to the Bengals.
Trey Hendrickson had a 4-year, $84 million deal with the Bengals.
Right. And they finished 4th last year in yards per game and 5th in points per game allowed at 20.6. A little overrated in my opinion. They held Denver to 3. They held Carolina to 7. They held Tampa Bay to 3, which I put every dollar I have right now that Tampa Bay is going to score more than 3 points in both their games against them going forward. And then they held Atlanta to 9 to kind of skew those stats. So I don't see them being very good. And yeah, Andrew, I don't understand what you don't understand about the Falcons. What do you mean? They drafted Kyle Pitts and traded Julio Jones, so obviously they're trying to win right now. I mean, they kept Matt Ryan, they kept Calvin Ridley, so they're trying to win right now, obviously. Or else they wouldn't have drafted Kyle Pitts and traded Julio Jones. So no, they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, Arthur Blank needs to figure it out, man. That's the owner of the Falcons. You're on the sidelines, buddy. You see the talent. Let's bring this back up real quick. He said Darnell. I'm pretty sure he meant Darnold. And DJ Moore looking nice together. Yeah, I like DJ Moore. Matt Rule just likes Robbie Anderson a lot more. And in our last video, we talked about the contract extension and why he likes Robbie Anderson and the ties to Temple University that they had. DJ Moore is actually going to be a free agent next offseason, barring any sort of extension he gets from the Panthers if he goes off or anything and they feel they can't get rid of him. So he'll be looking for a new team and, who knows where he'll end up, but he's going to be a hot commodity next offseason for sure. All right. So again, no surprise. It was the NFC South, Tampa coming out, a little bit of a, barn burner for the rest of those 3 teams. Let's go back to Ace one last time for his NFC North prediction. Then we'll round out the show with ours. And here we go.
The NFC North, where it's cold and icy and chilly. And that's just Aaron Rodgers' feelings about everybody except himself. So I don't think that the Green Bay Packers win this division this year. Don't get me wrong. Aaron Rodgers, I might not accept him as my MVP of last season, but and I get the interception to touchdown ratio. He was fantastic. I just don't know if he is really going to be in it this season. He doesn't need to prove that he's the best. I like the Minnesota Vikings to go 10-7 to beat out the Packers, who are going to go 9-8. Now that would be a very bad season for the Green Bay Packers, but I think something's about to happen. I think we're all too invested in what was and can't embrace what will be until that happens. So the Vikings go 10-7, Chicago 5-12. Not a playoff team this year. Justin Fields' experiment will work. You just need some time. Next season, it's not that time. Detroit Lions will probably be the second worst team in all of football, 2-15. Jared Goff, sorry, buddy. Good luck over there.
What do you mean by that?
Don't.
Well, embarrassing. I didn't change the predictions.
Sorry.
You're very high on the Vikings, Ace. I'm not so high on them, as you'll see. I think they're going to go 5-12. I think they have a pretty tough record, to be quite honest with a tough schedule, to be quite honest with you. I think Green Bay pretty much rolls, to be honest with you. An angry Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league. Kind of hard to disagree with it, considering he was pretty angry last year after they drafted Jordan Love, and he threw for 48 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. So I see what you're saying. It was, the case for MVP could have gone, really either way. It was kind of hanging in the balance there, but he was the MVP last year, and Josh Allen will probably win one at some point in his career. I would bet on it at least. With the Bears, I really don't know. Detroit, I'm not even going to touch them with a 10-foot pole. I don't even think Jared Goff wants to touch them with a 10-foot pole. Penei Sewell's been struggling a little bit, like you mentioned, Jay, but he's making the transition back over to the right tackle. Coming from, so he'll be okay. He's the talent's there. He's going to be fine. Just give him, he'll be all right. You mentioned that the Vikings drafted someone like Darisaw. They were able to get him who was a cornerstone tackle for someone like Kirk Cousins. I still think Kirk Cousins is just. You got him, and what are you going to do with him? You have him locked up. I mean, who else? You're not going to be bad enough to get a great young quarterback, but you're not going to be good enough to really win with him. So you're just kind of playing a weird game. I think this division is going to be another one of it's going to be like the NFC South, where you have the top heavy winner, and it's going to be kind of cheeks the rest of the way. The Bears at 6-11. I think Justin Fields will come in and not surprise some people, because everyone's expecting him. He's a very talented player. Everyone would expect him to eventually have a solid career. I think he'll show some moments and show some spurts of him playing very well. But a team led by Andy Dalton and an aging defense. I know we like Khalil Mack, but Khalil Mack's 31 now. He can't really do it on his own. The departures of Leonard Floyd last year and other guy and Adrian Amos the year before that has kind of depleted this defense, and they're trying to retool it. Even a guy like Kyle Fuller, who left this past offseason over to go to Denver. So it's going to be tough sledding for, I think, all three of these teams not named Green Bay in this division, to be honest with you. And I think Green Bay rolls really easily into 14-3. And what could be Aaron Rodgers' last season with the Packers, who knows, to be honest with you.
Yeah, given this offseason, it definitely looks that way. I totally agree. I think the Packers are going to be the best team in this division, and it's not very close. The NFC North is going to be playing the NFC West this year, which – big ouch. The NFC West is going to be probably the best division in football, which is why I have the Lions and the Bears not winning very many football games. A good stat, a crazy stat that I found is over the last 2 years, Aaron Jones has played 30 games. He scored 30 touchdowns. Pretty good, if you ask me. So this offense as a whole is going to be loaded. When you look at their offensive line, Aaron Rodgers should be really nice and protected back there. Last year, they were first in pass and run block win rate, and they were second in sacks allowed, only allowing 21. They did lose Corey Linsley, who's an all-pro center. That's a question mark. But I think overall, this offensive line is still very good. And I think the Packers are going to be very good in general. I have the Minnesota Vikings finishing second at 8-9. I feel like this is where they are just about every year, teetering right about 500, usually a game over, or a game under, or 2 games over, or 2 games under, right in that little area, which is where I have them this year. The defense isn't great. I do like their offensive skill position players with Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. Unfortunately, that defense is not very good. That offensive line is not very good, even though I like the addition of Darisaw. I don't think they're going to be very good. 8-9 is where I see them. The Chicago Bears have the 6th most difficult strength of schedule in the NFL, which is not good when you're trying to, obviously you're going to be bringing in Justin Fields, and Matt Nagy looks like I don't think he should be on the line considering the season here, but I think that the Bears front office would definitely take a hard look. This is another disappointing season, which I very well think it could be. The Bears actually only played 4 games this year against a team that is projected to win less games than they are. So 4 of their 17 games. And 13 of them are going to come against a team that is projected to win more football games over the season than they are. And you could take your ankle-biting Dan Campbell head coach team with the Detroit Lions and stick it where the sun don't shine. They're going to win 2 games, maybe. When your best wide receiver is Terrell Williams, you're in big trouble. He'd struggle to make the Kansas City Chiefs roster. He'd struggle to make a lot of NFL wide receiver rosters. So, I don't think they're going to be very good. 2-15 is where I got them at.
Yeah. Again, some of these divisions are going to be kind of, so there's some bad teams in the NFL, but there's also some really good teams, and there's going to be a lot of good football. I think the playoffs will be really cool with the extra team. It's going to be even more competitive this year because of because now only one seed gets the bye now, and that's the number 1 overall seed. Just to show you guys real quick, this is what the playoff standings would be given our rosters, or not our rosters, given what we think the schedules will play out as. So yeah, obviously I have Tampa with a 1 seed here. It looks pretty similar. We have a little bit of switch with Dallas and Seahawks here. And then I have the Giants getting in over the Washington football team in the wild card. Again, the 1 seed is the only team getting the bye. And then here's how it would look on the AFC side of the ball. Chiefs at 15-2, Buffalo right behind them. And then, couple switch ups between me and Jay here. But yeah, very excited for football season to come back. We'll be back with you guys next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to be back next week and probably a couple more times. Be sure to tune in. So we just to give you guys a little heads up for football season. We will be live every Sunday morning from 8 to 9, at least for an hour, sometimes more, to do our Sunday morning roast and do our DFS stuff. We're going to have a little bit more projections in terms of who's going to win individual awards, MVP, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, all that stuff, and Super Bowl winners coming up next week for you guys. If you haven't done so already, the 5 of you watching, thank you so much for hanging out with us. And thank you for those of you who have tuned in. We are the AJA Sports Show. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram below. You guys can support us also by hitting the subscribe button and hitting the bell to know when we go live. But until next time, we can't wait to see you guys in here again. This has been Andrew and Jay. We will see you guys next time and have a great day. Bye. Stay tuned for more NFL stuff, guys, coming your way. It's our favorite sport. The 5 of you who are still in here watching, we really, really appreciate it. I didn't even end the broadcast.